Hello, everyone, and welcome you all to another chapter of the basic Python tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number 3, where we are going to learn about variables and data types. Okay, so over here in this particular chapter, we are going to learn that what is variable, how it actually works, what are the different data types we work with here in this Python programming language. We're going to learn about that too. So let's not waste much time and let's get started. So over here on my screen, as you guys can see, now I do have the same file or the Python file which we created in our last class. So from here now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep this print function over here, and I'll just delete the last line of code, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put on some strings. Okay, so strings are basically just alphabets or letters or words. Okay, but now here first we will focus on variable. Okay, so let me just come here and let me first just type a text. Okay, so this type of data type is basically called as a string data type. Okay, so for numbers we do call them integers. If it's a true or false value, in that case we call it the Boolean value. So these are the three type of data mostly we are going to use. I'll also show you guys those examples over here in this class. So I will just type Martha is, or I will just type there is a woman named Martha, and I'll just put a comma. Let's come down, and over here I'll type and I'll also tell that she is 38 years old, and I'll type Martha is a very helpful woman, and I'll just come here, I'll just put out a comma, and over here I will just type and she does not, or I will just type doesn't look like a typical 38 years old. Okay, so over here I will just finish this particular paragraph. So now let's try to understand this. Okay, so as you guys can see, I do have written this thing right over here. So let's come here, let's say let's check what the problem is with this code. Blank line at the end of file 5. Okay, so there is no blank line. So if I just click here on the run option, you can see that this particular code has been run. Okay, and here you guys can see there is a woman named Martha. She is 38 years old. Martha is a very helpful woman, and she doesn't look like a typical 38, let's say, not 20, 38 years old. And if I just run this again, here you guys can see the change. But now let's say from here I want to change the name from Martha to, let's say, June. Okay, or let's say Juliana. Okay, so I will just type there is a woman named Juliana. And from here now, again, if I do want to change it in the third line also, what I need to do is manually come here and I can change the name. Okay, and same thing goes on with the age as well. Let's say I'll just go with 32, and over here also I do want to change 32 in both the lines. So now if I just run this line of code over here, you guys can see in the console here it says now Juliana in the name option, the age is also being changed, and here you guys can see, and everything else remained the same. But now let's say you are able to do this because now only you have 4 line of code. But let's say in a place if you have a lot of lines, okay, and there particularly you want to change a particular name. So in that case, what you can do is you can use a variable. So variable is basically like a container. Okay, so variable is like a container. Let's say if I just place the container over here, whatever that particular container will contain, it will just print out over here. I don't have to change it each and every time. I just have to mention where I want to place it, and I will just put my container over there, and it will show me my desired outcome. So now let's see how you can create a variable and how you can just put those variables right over here. So let's come here on top, and on top now I will just type my underscore name. Okay, so my underscore name, and make sure whenever you are typing any line of code over here, okay, so we'll just type my underscore name. So this is actually the variable name. Okay, if you're writing 2 word, make sure to connect it with this hyphen over here. Okay, because if you just give it a space, okay, let's come here, and if you do want to mention that both of these are as one, okay, you need to make sure to connect it with a hyphen. So once I've created this variable, now I'll just put on the equal to sign, and after that now I will just put on my double quotation. And once I put this double quotation over here, it already understood that over here I do have created a variable. Okay, or let's come here, I will just type woman name, and let's change it to Martha back again. Okay, so I'll just put Martha, and also let's create another variable of age. Okay, so I will just go with woman underscore age equal to equal to, and over here as I'm working with numbers because I want to change the age as well, and this is the first data type which I have used over here on top. This is a string, okay, because it contains alphabet or letters. You can also put out a whole text or a whole paragraph inside your variable, like whatever you store inside, it will actually work as a container. Okay, so as this one is with quotation, these are containing alphabets or words, but when you're using numbers you don't have to use those quotation. So let's say over here in woman underscore age variable, I want to put the age as 35. Okay, and now as you are done with this particular part here, now you guys can see that I do have 2 basic variable. So the first variable is woman underscore name, and the second variable is woman underscore age. So over here now, as you guys can see that I do have this particular set of code written inside this print function. So now let's say I want to change it, or I want to put Martha in all the places I want or wherever necessary. So in that case now I don't have to manually write it again. What I can do is I will come here, and now there is a woman named, and again I'll just close this down with a quotation, and what I will do is I will just put plus, and after that I will just type woman, and here as you guys can see, once I've started writing the first word or the first alphabet, here you guys can see that which variable do I want to put. Okay, they're asking me. If you do want to put variables in different cases, once we go deeper, you don't have to do anything with that. So let's come here, I have put woman name, And now again, to close this thing down, I will just put another plus sign. Okay, but now let's give it a space over here. Let's give a space over here. And as you guys can see here, it is actually showing me a bit of error. Okay, because over here now I also need to put out a quotation because I do have a small comma right over here. Okay, so now let's come here, and if you run this here, you guys can see there is a woman named Martha. Okay, so I need to make sure that I do also give them a space. Okay, so now again, if I just run this line of code here, you guys can see it shows there is a woman named Martha. Okay, so that is how you guys can put. And also let's come here, I want to change that over here as well. So for that, now I will just come here, and let's come here, and I will just put out a plus sign, and let's go with woman name variable. I will just put out the plus sign again, and let's give it out a space, and let's try to run this code. Let's see. And here, as you guys can see, that I do have an error. Okay, so over here now, what I can do is, as this is the first line of code, okay, as this over here is basically the first line of code, again I can just create up a quotation, maybe create a quotation right over here as well, and now just give it up a space. Now if I just try to run this code here, you guys can see now it is being also applied over here. Let's say Martha is a very helpful woman. Okay, so now the same way, what I can do is I'll just delete this 32 and I'll just put plus. But now over here, instead of or let's come here first, I will just close this thing down, and let's give it out a space. Now let's come here plus, and I will just go with woman age variable. Now again, I'll just close this down with a plus, double quote to close this on the other side. And this is done over here. And the same way, let's come here, double quote or space, double quote, then plus sign, and woman age over here also, again close this down with a plus sign, now double quote over here. So as you guys can see now, nowhere I do have mentioned any name or any age, but here inside this variable I do have the desired age. Let's say now in all these 4 lines I want to change the name from Martha to something else. Okay, so now let's come here, and as you guys can see, the variable woman age is 35. So if I just come here, if I just run this code here, as you guys can see, can only contain str, not int. Okay, to str. So what will happen over here is I will come here and I will just give this one up a bit of space. So now over here, you guys can see that it is showing me a different kind of error. Okay, but now let's try to understand that why it is actually showing me an error right over here. Okay, so now this is the second variable, which is actually an integer. But now over here, I'm not using this as an integer or as a number, but instead I will use it over here as a screen. Okay, or a string over here. So for that now, what I'm going to do is plus and str. Let's open parenthesis, now plus sign back again. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, Control C, and I'm going to paste here using Control V. Okay, so now over here, as you guys can see, I don't have any error with all of this line of code, as you guys can see. Now over here it will show me that woman name equals to Martha. Over here, let's give it a space, let's give it out a space here as well. There is a woman name over here. She is let's come here, let's just cut out the space which we don't need. Okay, so now let's run this code, and here you guys can see it is showing me in the console. Let's say there is a woman named Martha. Yeah, the spacing is fine, comma, she's 35 years old. Okay, so over here this is the 35 number. So what it did over here is it first joined this particular text over here, and as I do have this variable, first I did turn this integer variable into a string, and then over here I do have printed everything else with it. Okay, so over here again you guys can see I do have this another variable over here, and I do have joined it over here, and same goes with here as well. So now let's say I want to change the name Martha to Ellie, or Ellie, and let's go with 22. And now if I just run this particular line of code here, it says there is a woman named Ellie. She is 22 years old. Ellie is a very helpful woman, and she doesn't look like a typical 22 years old. And the same thing, if I just come here and I'll just go with Elizabeth, let's say, and let's come here, let's go with 43. And now let's run this code back again. Here you guys can see all the variables over here have actually changed. So let me just show you guys another thing about variable. So now let's say over here in this to line, you do want to keep the woman name variable to Elizabeth. Like over here, we have learned that in Python or in any coding, they do decode the line of code one by one. First, they will decode line number one, then they'll decode line number two, then three, and so on. It follows. So over here, with the same name variable, what I can do is I can just replace the content which I have inside my container. Okay, so let's go with woman underscore name, and I will just put equal to, now double quote, and I will just, let's go with Alice. Okay, so I'll just go with Alice, and now if I just run this line of code here, you guys can see in the first line of code, what it did is it printed there is a woman named Elizabeth. Okay, because here it have seen that, well, woman name variable is Elizabeth over here. Then it came over here and it saw, okay, she is 43 years old. But now what will happen over here is once it comes in this particular line or in the seventh line, it will see that the woman name variable have actually replaced the content which it had before. Okay, or it is being updated. Okay, so from here, as you guys can see, now from this particular place, it has been changed to Alice, and in the line number 3 it is being printed as Alice. Okay, so you can do it in case of this as well. Okay, or the second variable. So we do have learned about variable, how does variable work, how we can update the variable over here inside our line of code, and also we have learned about data type. Okay, so inside a variable you can have this string data type, you can have an integer data type, otherwise you can also have a boolean data type. Okay, so let's say I will just come here is underscore player, let's say, or is underscore boy equal to, let's say, if I just put false, or let's come here, let's go with true, And over here now, if you say this particular statement is true, it will state true. Or let's say if you just set this particular thing as false, it will represent as false. And in our next classes, once we talk deep about all of these variables or all these data types, we are going to learn that how you can use these Boolean variable inside your line of code. And these three are very important. Okay, as a beginner, you should know about these three type of data types. Otherwise, your journey of coding is kind of incomplete. Okay, so yeah, I hope this particular class was clear. And yeah, I hope to see you all in the next chapter where we're gonna learn and discuss more about each data type. Let's say first we'll discuss about numbers, then we'll discuss about a string, or let's say first we'll discuss about string, then we'll discuss about number. So take care everyone. See you all in the next chapter.